testimony today. Up next is Dwayne Steward. Welcome to committee, and you may proceed when ready.
Chair Brenner, Vice Chair O'Brien, Ranking Member Ingram, and members of the Senate Education Committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony in opposition of House Bill 8. My name is Dwayne Steward. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the new Executive Director of Equality Ohio. We're a 20-year-strong organization providing advocacy and legal support to Ohio's LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to create lived and legal equality for all Ohioans. But today, I don't come before you as an Executive Director, I come before you as a father, because HB 8, if it becomes law, my family and my history will be erased from existence in our school system. My son will be robbed of the opportunity to see examples of his family in our education. If HB 8 passes, there's a lack of definition in the language. Everyone keeps saying that, which is very true. This will be used as a weapon to erase LGBTQ communities, which is exactly what happened when similar bills were passed in other states. You know, as an example, I didn't discover someone like Bayard Rustin and his amazing contributions to the civil rights movement until I was in college. For those of you unfamiliar, Bayard Rustin is known as an originator of nonviolent protest theology and the architect of the civil rights movement because he was the creator and lead organizer of the 1964 March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his infamous "I Have a Dream" speech. He was also a proud, openly gay man. I wish I had the opportunity to learn about Rustin and his immense contributions in our world growing up. It would have normalized my existence to myself and others, which would have eliminated the severe bullying that I experienced throughout grade school and high school as a black queer kid growing up in rural Ohio. This law would not allow Bayard Rustin to be taught in schools. However, the most egregious part of HB 8 is the forced outing clause, which requires teachers and administrators to alert parents if a child discloses their sexuality or gender identity. First, the clause is extremely vague, as people keep mentioning, but it offers no detail or guidance regarding how teachers should officially respond when a student does bring up their sexuality or gender identity. Also, you'd be taking away a crucial lifeline from LGBTQ kids. Research shows that one supportive adult in an LGBTQ child's life decreases that child's chances of attempting suicide by 30%. In most cases, that supportive adult, is a teacher or guidance counselor. The forced outing provision in HB 8 will also lead to higher rates of abuse in homes for LGBTQ youth. You've heard statistics that a majority of houseless youth are LGBTQ, and an overwhelming majority of those cases, these youth are homeless because of family rejection after disclosing their identity. There is no body of research that proves the need for this legislation or any legislation like it. However, there's a large body of research that shows how anti-LGBTQ legislation hurts families like mine and like many others. Research in Ohio has shown
Your 3 minutes are up, if you would, please.
Anti-transgender state legislation causes 72% increases in suicide attempts amongst transgender and non-binary young people. Laws like this increase harm to LGBTQ youth. I urge this committee to vote no and not support HB 8.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there questions from committee members? I don't see any. I have a question. Again, I'm re-looking at the bill analysis. I mean, the disclosure that I see is that they provide parents with a notice about instructional materials that include sexuality content and the opportunity to request alternative instruction, and that it be age appropriate and developmentally appropriate. You know, your comment that you suggest that you wouldn't be able to learn about the person in the Martin Luther King march could still be taught. I don't see where anything in this bill would prohibit that from happening. Well, how would that be prohibited based on the way the language is drafted in this bill?
I mean, the language of the bill specifically states sexuality content means any oral or written instruction, presentation, image, or description of sexual concepts or gender ideology provided in a classroom setting. The language is so vague that any district can decide that Bayard Rustin saying he's gay in a classroom can be stricken from that classroom. The language is vague.
But that's not what the language says. The language just says you have to make the content available to the parents and the public to be able to read it, and therefore they can make the decision whether or not they want their child to be able to actually go through that particular part of the instruction, and if not, the schools are to come up with an alternative instruction. So again, I don't see where this prohibits anything in the bill for teaching about that, and honestly, I would not support that either.
You're putting my family and what you consider ideology of sexual content up for determination by other people. So an entire group of parents, if they're anti-LGBTQ, can then decide that Bayard wrestling couldn't be taught in that classroom. That my son couldn't show his two parents or talk about his two parents in the classroom. This language in this bill, again, is so vague that it allows for a group of people to make a determination about someone's life without their input.
My follow-up would be, from what my interpretation of looking at this, it would be the individual parents and their individual kids, not your kids.
Exactly. It would be the parents who can decide if
For their kids, and should that not be the case?
No, my family, excuse me, my family and who I am should not be up for debate.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
And that is what will happen in your scenario.
So what you're saying is that if a parent who has whatever it is, whether it's religion or some other reasons, does not want their own child to go through and read or go through part of a curriculum that a school has available, that they're not allowed to make that decision to do that for their child?
Parents can make whatever decisions they want for their children, right? But I can't decide that we're going to eliminate an entire group of people from a classroom. I wouldn't want to make that decision. And we shouldn't be allowing people to make those decisions for the classroom, to eliminate entire groups of people from even being able to be taught or exist, who do exist. You see them all in this room. They could be erased because a group of parents have decided that. That's not okay.
All right, well, thank you very much for your testimony today. Up next, Dr. Jamie Marish. Welcome to committee, and you may proceed when ready.